We just have to get the displays going.
Yeah,
here.
I think they can see you and they can
obviously.
hear you. Ask them if they can see you and hear you.
Can
It looks
me?
a little
Can you
pixel.
Are you getting the feed from my computer?
Yeah. No, Gina's gonna put the computer. You're.
Do I need to share from Zoom?
No, Gina will do it. Just ask her next. Just say welcome. Okay. Can the chat tell us if we are ready to start? I think we are. Anyone in the chat could tell us if you can hear us and see us?
Yeah, but we're not actually on the display up here.
Yes. Okay, yes. I know what to do. Well, just start introducing the thing. What I get this computer. 1, 5, 2. Boop. Up to you if you can and help us. God bless.
There we go.
Just be there and you can see. No, I don't know. Okay, so we want to thank so many people for making this possible. Team Lowenhub always saves us. Every day a little less. Thank you, team, for being here. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, wonderful audience. Thank you, Geshe, for making this possible, for encouraging us, bringing us, and give us some opportunity to learn. And I'm about to sign in. Why don't you start, Adam, introducing real quick who you are, why are we doing here, and what the talk is going to be about.
Okay, so, working with Geshe, we have two titles for the book. There's kind of an ornamental title, and then there's a more informal title of this one. My book chose for an informal title to be enjoyable. So, I thought that was a really, really cool and kind of fascinating way to bring people in, right?
Yeah. But tell them about the GBOCS and this thing, where we are. Who are you?
Oh, it's on my jacket.
What do you mean?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve, for the reminder. Yeah, so this is a program that Geshe Michael kind of set up a few months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, in which ACI teachers, on the top of the time. All right. My goodness. Seems so
yeah.
Okay. Sorry for the non-professional start here. So yeah, Juan,
what about me?
Well, you asked me to introduce the GBOCS program. I don't really know how how important it is that kind of what this program's for. It's more so, I think, for like an internal organizational thing in between the Worldview programs. So what we're trying to do is really establish some.
You can see yourself there.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
I'll sit down here.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is kind of I think a way that Geshe Michael is trying to introduce some collaboration between different parts of his organizations, right? So I act more as a translator, and I have a more formal way of studying, of working. And Juan here also is obviously the Peachtree news guy, right? So this program is supposed to be a way of bringing ACI teachers or foundational course teachers. I think now it's called the five houses. And we're trying to establish a series of teachings here. So this is meant to be the first in a series of courses. So we're not going to finish everything, but we're going to get started, right? This is all going to be documented. So hopefully you guys, when you go home, you can rewatch it. And I'm trying to figure out more so right now where everybody's knowledge is, because Master Dharmakirti's teachings are extremely deep. They really are. And it's 16 years now I've been studying Geshe Michael. It's It's been 13 years since I first went to the monastery and stayed at the monastery for an extended length of time. So I first debated with the monks at the monastery 13 years ago, and I'm still learning these things. I studied course 13, like I said, 13 years ago. And I find that every day I read, I study, and I'm still learning more. Your course and your journey might not be as rough as mine is. You might get all this stuff next week. I don't know, really. But that's mainly just to be a way of telling you that we can go as deep as you guys want to, really. And depending on how far we can get, we will, right? But for now, we're just going to introduce, because the translators, forgot. Thank you. Roxana, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, totally. I get into this conversational kind of flow. I have to remember. So
I want to introduce as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me real quick, in my, experience, this is a beautiful initiative that Geshe Michael had, I don't know how long ago, but the idea is to start, into my eyes, and it's beautiful. I think what you, all translators, you team in the room, I think Geshe wants, he says, like, he jokes often to say, like, yeah, we're translating the books and we maybe sell like 15 copies, including your mom, including your aunt. But I think he now is looking forward to these wonderful topics that are contained in these books to start spreading around with this new series of, how you call them, events, classes, seminars, lectures, however you like. So we can access really the information that's there. He has this other program when we are supposed to read the books before we go to bed. It's called the Good Night Book Club. But even I have tried, and sometimes I do it, but I think this is his way to grab us from the hand and take us to the content. Because of this particular thing that he asked us to do, I start studying the book, and I think it's fascinating. And just imagining what Adam has been going through by years of study and years of translator. And I don't know if to congratulate you or to be like, I'm sorry. like I know your mind can go so deep and so profound in these topics. And I think Geshe can see that. And what I got from Geshe, the challenge you and I have, is to make it very accessible and relevant for people. How we can all use these deep ideas in our very day life that are going to, he say, prevent us to keep fighting with our partners in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And remember when we were reading the introduction, if you could talk a little bit about this idea that I love, is like when he says, Geshe, like, the idea of this book is so you can go and save your partner from the category group called people who irritate me. You go rescue them like a SWAT mission. How you call those in SWAT?
Yeah, SWAT team.
The SWAT
right?
team.
You could say a SEAL team. Yeah.
Go save your partner and bring them back to the group where they really belong, which is people who make my life so beautiful. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good segue into really talking about, once again, how we can be practical, how we can stay practical with it, right? So I think in the most practical way that I see we can apply these things is obviously through the two husbands metaphor, right? And a more, we're going to get there, Juan.
Okay.
We're going to get there, Juan.
Okay.
Here. So who am I? Who is Juan, right? I live in Colorado. I'm from the United States. I've been studying Geshe Michael since 2009. Been to Sirame Monastery a couple of times. Okay. All right. So I've studied at higher institutions of learning, right? A few different times. And I've spent a lot of time sitting on my meditation cushion and dealing with these things. Juan?
Yeah.
You can introduce yourself.
Okay,
sir.
yeah, sure. Real quick. I guess I started studying in 2013 with one of my first Dharma teachers in Mexico, Alejandro Julien. And then he was producing events for Geshe Michael in Guadalajara. And since I ever met him, I was totally amazed that he exists. And I was so grateful and thank you. And my life started getting better and better and better. And then that was 2003. So almost, yeah, basically 12 years now. Many adventures. It's not always easy for those of you who may be starting, and at the beginning is super exciting and everything is amazing. And I used to be very like fanatical about it and give a lot of people trouble. But then little by little, I don't know, I guess we all mature into it and it still is super beautiful. But at least for me, I have to be honest, sometimes it's challenging, but the challenge, it makes us grow and it's super, super worth it.
Yeah.
So one day Geshe just gave me this interesting project. I think it's funny because to me, it's kind of, he came up with a game, like, hey, let's make a game. You're gonna tell the news and gonna excite people and tell everyone about the cool things we're all doing. And then, I don't know, I just decided to play along with what my teacher was asking me to do. And it's so funny to see, it's like a character has been created that sometimes I don't even buy that character, but it's like, sure, fine. It seems that people are laughing. And I love when people laugh. I think it opens your heart. Geshe talks a lot about how fun is also a great element to open the central channel. You know, I think wisdom and fun travel through the central channel.
Yeah.
Fun and love and compassion. So here I am. And eventually one day he just calls me, hey, do you want to go to Japan with Adam? And I'm like, sure. I was thinking to do a silent retreat, but let's do that instead. And he was like, yay. And then here we are.
So there are 6 people in the room. 4 of you guys, I don't know. Okay. This is where I live. I live just down here in the city. I go running and climbing in these mountains a lot. I've skied this mountain. And I spend most of my days here and running. So just an introduction to say, who am I, right? What do I do on a day-to-day basis? I studied computer engineering at university, spent 4 years, kind of, let's say, steeping myself in science and mathematics, and decided that I didn't want to pursue a career as an engineer. So I moved to the mountains. And a few years after living here, I got caught in a pretty big avalanche and lost my best friend. Somebody died in the process. And, I had some pretty traumatic kind of things going on, and was really searching for something because I had come so close to death. And in the process of this, a week later, I got an email that said, hey, we're starting to study this book, right, called Namdo Lakchan. And I found it was very coincidental that the closest I had ever come to death, within a week, I get a notification saying, hey, we're about to start studying this book. It's going to be a 20-year process. And that's when I jumped on board.
And what's the English name of the book?
A Gift of Liberation.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Liberation, thrust into the palm of your hands.
Nice.
So it was within this process that I ended up finding Geshe Michael, and was at the first Lamrim retreat. And for years and years and years, I didn't miss a single teaching. And I had a daughter, and this is her. It's my daughter. Yeah.
She looks a little like you.
I think so, man. So
it proves it's yours.
Yeah. So we have this project where I'm trying to climb the 100 highest mountains in Colorado with her. And so when she was about 2.5, 3, I started.
People want to hear you louder, so I'm just gonna put it closer to your mouth.
So when she was 2 to 3, I started putting her in a backpack, and I would climb mountains with her. And now she's climbing them with me. And she just turned 6 the day before I flew out here. Yeah. Yeah, this is my dog. She climbs mountains with me as well. And this is really in my backyard. This is my best friend. She's been my best friend for 13 years now. So I met
her. She loves peanut butter.
She does, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really, really does. So one more picture here. This is them together. This is my world. really. And that was a very, very good day. Very, very good day. So
Because you didn't have to use your 8K.
yeah, yeah.
It's a joke.
So now, you guys know me a little bit better. I feel like, once again, we'll talk more as these things progress. And I'm pretty sure we'll all become good friends in due time. The biggest question, though, is really, why is this book called The Door to Emptiness, right? And I think there are many different ways we can approach that question. There's some very surface level answers. Then there's some kind of answers that we can drill down on, and some things that you can think about, meditate on, really. So what my job is now is to sell you on why it is that you should be studying this book. Okay, you can hear Geshe Michael talk about it, right? Until it shifts your heart, and until your heart is changed, you won't take the time to bring it to your meditation cushion. You have to change your heart, and that's my job today, is to make you understand why these things are important, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about entering a door, right, you have to approach the door first. Yeah, you have to take steps to get there. There's a door handle to engage. You have to turn that knob, and you have to open it, right? So these teachings are a series of teachings that are meant to change your mind. Okay, if you're going to study the higher books, prasangika, right, highest school, highest middle way. If you're going to study highest middle way, you have to have some tools in your toolbox, right? So if you're going to build a house, you have to have a hammer, you have to have a ruler, you have to have a hammer, you have to have nails, right? Amongst many other things. And you're not going to be able to build that house unless you have those tools and those materials. So sorry. I apologize to the translators once again. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So once again, I apologize to everybody online. We have a room that I'm speaking to, and I've forgotten that there are a lot of people joining us online as well. So if you're going to study these things, you have to have a series of tools that you can take into the study thereof, right? So this particular genre of literature is called the collected topics, right? When we say collection, we mean many things, right? So a collection has many different things that make it up. And within this book and within this genre, it's given to young monks, okay, before they enter the debate field. So they have to take around 5 years to study this book and memorize all the debates, to memorize all the different material before they can actually step onto the debate ground. And what they're doing is they're getting all those tools, right? And then they go to the debate ground, and then they can start to unlock these things in the same way that you would unlock a door, right? So, right, if you can master these topics, you will perceive ultimate reality.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to add something. Is it a good time? You let me know when it's a good time for me to add something.
Yeah. I think it's probably a good time because I need to remind myself to slow down. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What I can say about this is yesterday we had a beautiful opportunity and class session with no other than the great and amazing Geshe Michael Roach. We went to a beautiful garden where Stanley Chen was having his session on the Xuanzang Tower. And at the end of the presentation, Geshe invites Adam and I. And it's funny because Adam was asking me at the Airbnb we were staying. He was like, hey, do you think Geshe is going to call us to the stage? I was like, nah, I don't think so. Maybe to read. Maybe he'll take you to read. But no, I think he's going to present. And you are like, no, I think he's actually going to even like test us or ask us to present something. And I was like, no, I don't think so. So guess what happened? Geshe calls us to stage. And all of a sudden he's like, okay, guys, we're going to do a debate. I'm going to debate you. And I never saw Geshe in that mood. Like he was really impressive. He got into a big energy of debate and he was blasting us like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. It was so beautiful. I had a lot of fun. To me, actually, is one of the, almost like for me to be a good debate, it has to be fun. you have to enjoy it. Don't get upset if you're debating. If you get upset, is when you really lose. I think so. Somehow in Spanish we have this saying like, el que se enoja pierde. If you get upset, you lose. So no matter what you say, just don't get upset. You're in a good place.
Okay.
But he asked us, why do you guys think this is the door to emptiness? So I'm gonna share real quick what I said, and then real quick what he said. What I say is, basically, I say, well, he kind of say more like, why is this the first debate that's opening the door to emptiness? You guys will see eventually what are we talking about when we say the first debate, but the first debate we're gonna talk about is called white and red, and it's talking about colors. Some people think that's a very simple, easy topic that may not be very deep or meaningful, and it's just kind of training people to understand how debate works. But Geshe has this firm belief or theory or knowledge, I would say, that it's actually because much deeper reasons. So one of the things I said yesterday is like, I think it's because colors, we are first entering this door through colors because colors are everywhere around us and we are perceiving them all the time. So in a way, if we get to understand why even colors or shapes are not what they seem to be, or they don't exist in the way they seem to exist, meaning coming at us or by their own side, then we will have, it's like having a friend around you all day telling you, hey, the world is empty, things are coming from you, not at you. Kind of like a good friend that is reminding you everywhere. Like they say, emptiness is around us all the time. We just don't realize it. And then Geshe will say, yeah, fine, that's good. But then he say, what he thinks, why he thinks is this colored debate, the door to emptiness, is because in similar lines, but he approached it more into like this idea of the pen. Can one thing be two things at the same time? We're gonna get further into that. Now
Yeah.
you.
So not to just to add to what you were saying just there.
Thank you.
You know, the first debate may be considered a door as well, right? But in general, it's the book itself, the entirety, right? So when we talk about the diamond world, right? It's another way for saying emptiness, right? It's another way for saying if you can touch the diamond world, it's kind of like saying, you know, perceiving emptiness directly, right? So touching the diamond world, right, and perceiving emptiness directly, they're kind of mutually like descriptive. They're synonyms, right? Different ways of saying the same thing. If you're going to go about a journey, you have to take a series of steps to get there, right? So if we're looking to see emptiness directly, there's kind of a series of steps that we have to take to get there. And in order, is everybody here familiar with the Lam Rim teachings, right? Even just a little, right? So Lam Rim means steps on the path, right? And what we're talking about is a progressive series of steps that one has to take in order to get to this final destination, which is complete and total enlightenment, right? So along the way, we will have to touch the diamond world at some point. And if you're familiar with the 5 paths, then you'll understand that you can only transition between the 5 paths in a deep state of meditation, right? But what are you meditating on, right? These things. You have to have these tools and you have to be applying what's called analytical meditation, right? In your meditation in order to progress along the path. So we're going to try to give you those tools, okay? You have to be able to prove things like the existence of the diamond world. But right now, we just have a belief, right? We just believe because somebody's telling us. A very trustable person, right? Geshe Michael's, I mean, you know, if there's anybody you can trust, it's Geshe Michael, right? So if he's telling you that the diamond world exists, right, I can have a pretty fair assumption that he's correct, right? But we can't just rely on belief. We have to see it ourselves, and we have to prove it to ourselves using logic, using reasoning, using analytical meditation. And all those things combined, right, will really infer our mind about not only its existence, but the existence of other things that we can't see with our eye, okay? You can't see the diamond world with your eye, but you can see it with your mind, okay? And they say that eventually, when your meditation gets well enough, you can also directly perceive it, okay? Which is the direct perception of emptiness, right? So it's something called yogic direct perception, okay? You usually have things that you can see with your mind, things that you can see with the senses, right? But there's a very special type of perception that's called yogic direct perception, okay? That's what we're trying to develop. And you can only do it with reasoning and logic. Only, okay? That's what we're trying to do. What happens if you see emptiness directly? Okay, well, it sets off a chain of events, okay? And in a very special way, it will transform your body. Like a beautiful cancer, right? A cancer that will transform your world, right? And actually transform your flesh, your body, okay? It's very, very special, okay? And Geshe Michael, there's a reason why he says that this book in particular was the thing that he was studying when he saw emptiness directly, okay? So when I say this might very well be the most important class you ever take, it's not because I'm up here teaching you. It's because we're going to go deep and eventually we will get there. And if you can do these things, it will indelibly change your existence, your worlds, your perception into a very beautiful, beautiful place, okay? Everybody's heard the pin, right? Everybody's heard the pin, okay? I hesitate to even go into it, okay? Maybe just in a very superficial way, we'll treat it for a second, okay? If you've got an object in the room, like this very cute dog here, right, who has the pen in his mouth, you have an object, a coffee cup, a pen, right, chairs, people, right? And we learn through the pen that there are as many worlds in that room as there are people to perceive it, you know? So we have 6 people here in this world. There are simultaneously 6 worlds that are coexisting, 6 realities, okay? So when we get to this place, what does that mean, right? This means that when you encounter problems, right? When you have problems in your life, you get sick, or maybe you're having a problem with your partner, right?
Maybe you don't have a partner.
Maybe you don't have a partner and you want a partner, right? Yeah, you're lonely, you know? What does this mean?
People don't believe.
No, it's true. So
I know.
So what makes the pen, right? It's your own karma, right? It's your own virtue or lack of virtue, right? Which would make it a chew toy. So how do we take that into our everyday lives, right? Well, in a very simple way, I'm sure all you guys have also heard, not just the pen metaphor, but also the 2 husband metaphor, right? So we won't take much time on it, but it is to say that you can transform reality, right? If you understand how virtue, how karma works, how planting seeds work, right? You can transform your reality. And we all know in the same way that someone is a computer programmer, let's say, a coder, right? And you go to code this world, this existence. And this is kind of the same way that we can learn how to code and transform our reality, right? So why are we going to study logic? Why do it? Does this make sense? Does this make sense?
No.
Doesn't make sense, right? Is this good logic?
Yeah, maybe.
Is this good logic? Right? If I let a spider bite me, can I become Spider-Man? And if that's true, and listen to what I'm saying. If then, okay, we have if then statements. Okay, if I let a spider bite me, then I become Spider-Man, right? If I let a horse bite me, maybe I can become this weird horse guy here on the beach, right? I don't think it's true, right? But this is one of the ways that we can learn to really separate what's real from what's unreal, right? So we know, right, that if we want a partner, like Juan was saying, do we go to the nightclub?
Of course.
What?
No.
Well,
Oh, no.
Do we let the horse bite us?
Yeah.
Do we let
Hey,
the horse
you
bite us?
tell the girl, bite me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Maybe. It could
Yeah,
work.
totally. Do we go online for a partner? Right?
Maybe.
Well, do we plant seeds to get a partner?
Most certainly. That's what
Yeah.
they say. The ones who know say that that's the option.
Yeah, totally. And and I'm just using this as one example of clear thinking, right? We have to separate reality from false reality, right? Real, true, ultimate reality from deceptive and fake reality. And the guy letting the horse bite him, I would say, is probably an example of deceptive reality, right? This is most important, maybe most important thing I've said so far. Okay, we were talking earlier about how we needed tools in order to progress along the path, right? So just here, I have a picture. This is a classic example, okay? Very classic example, very, very classic. Me church and the dingy la la church and me yate do you me here, okay? It's consider fire, okay? Consider smoke on the other side of a mountain pass. You cannot see the fire down here, right? But you know that there is a fire. Right? So this is inference. Okay, this is one of the two main types of perception. Okay, so using logic, you can learn how to see things with your mind that you cannot perceive with the senses. Okay, we know because in a cause and effect way that if there is smoke, there is fire. Okay, so this slide is demonstrating just that. You cannot see the fire, but you know it's there, right? 100%. Okay. Why? Why is that applicable? Okay, we're talking about taking steps along a path. Okay, you have to first prove, are you going to die? I ask everyone here. Everyone's going to die, right?
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
That's what we hear, no? I don't know.
Well, I would say, just to maybe further kind of, we're going to make sure that we don't die in an ordinary way. Okay, that's what we're trying to do.
I see what you mean.
Right, so we may die, but we're not going to do it in an ordinary way. Okay, we have to. Right? Can you see past and future lives with your eyes?
No.
Can you? Ask everybody in this room. You cannot see, right? Past and future lives. Yeah, totally. I don't have the chat.
Yeah, I have it here. People online, if you can see your lives, past or future lives with your eyes, let us know and we will have you over sometime.
Yeah, so you can tell me. Totally. Yeah.
We'll have you in P3 World News.
Right. So everybody's saying no.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, totally. You can't see your past and future lives with your eyes. Mm-hmm. But I asked you first, I said, are you going to die? You know you are. Okay. Everybody knows this. We also know through the teachings of Jetson Kappa that the only thing that can protect you is Dharma. Okay. You don't know when you're going to die, but you know that you are. And the only thing that can help you after you die is your practice and study in this life, right? So seeing the unseen, okay? What if I asked you to prove to me that there are states of existence like nirvana? Can you prove that to me?
I have an idea. Can I try?
You've heard people, you've heard Geshe Michael talk about it.
Yeah.
You've heard the ancient scriptures.
Yeah.
However, are you just going off of belief, right? We're not going to do that any longer. You need to prove it to yourselves, right? Because that will inform your ability to practice with a pure heart and with a lot of determination and motivation, okay? So I ask you, are there states of mind like arhats, right? Are there states of mind like Buddhas? Right now, you just go off belief, okay? Because somebody told you. We're not going to do that any longer, okay? That's what this slide is saying. You need to prove things like past and future lives to yourself, right? So, and sorry, Juan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just, let me finish this one point.
No,
okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
There are things called tokpas, okay? Tokpa means path, okay? Or like realizations, okay? These are things that you gain in deep states of meditation that change your mind, okay? And in an irreversible way, okay? And Paponka Rinpoche has a very beautiful example where he says it's like trying to start a friction fire with two sticks. right? And it takes a lot of effort, doesn't it? You have to find two perfect sticks. You have to bring them together. You have to have a bundle. You have to have this little plate, where you're kind of working on it. And it takes a lot of effort. It doesn't just happen, right? Maybe 30 minutes. You have to sit there just like going. We've been speaking for 30 minutes. Imagine trying to start a fire for 30 minutes, right? But eventually you get this very beautiful ember at the bottom, this very beautiful little glowing coal, right? And then you coax it into existence by slowly blowing on it, right? And then eventually, right, it takes fire, right? Right? That's what you're doing in your mind when you're meditating on these things. Some people go to their cushion and they have practices like Tonglen, right? You might do 4 powers meditations, right? There's a whole host of things that you can meditate on. What we're trying to convince you to do is to take analytical reasoning to your cushion. And that is equivalent to starting that friction fire in your mind, okay? And you need to generate these fires in your mind about understanding things like past and future lives, right? About understanding that there are arhats out there. There are Buddhas out there. But these are only things that you can realize and generate realizations about in meditation, okay? Go ahead, man, sorry.
No, nothing. I just got caught up in this idea of proving things with reasoning, because it's true, many things we believe by authority, we take them. I like also the other day you were telling me about how another way of have a accurate perception or valid perception.
It's a difference, right?
Yeah, it's a convention, which I find very interesting. How sometimes, I don't know, Geshe likes to use the example of a lemon, apparently, in the sense that that's a word people use in the United States to refer to a very bad quality car. So they say, oh, you just bought a lemon. And apparently everyone there knows what a lemon means in certain context. So I'm just saying that because under certain specific circumstances or context, convention is very valid and it works.
That's what Master Chandrakirti, one of his main points that he made.
Yeah.
If does the world agree in consensus that the sky is blue?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have to ask you to prove to me that it's not green?
No, yeah.
Is there a 30-second day in January?
A 30-second? No.
No, there's not 32 days in January, right? These are things that we accept through convention, okay? And Master Chandrakirti says that convention is also equally acceptable, okay? Doesn't mean you have to go off of it. And there's some kind of fine points in there, right? Because a majority of reality, a majority of the conventional world also thinks that things are coming, from their own side.
Yeah,
so,
which that's interesting to me, actually, that thing, like, where is the difference or the line between like a valid perception and a correct perception? Because let's put it this way, and maybe I'm going too far into the...
You think we'll get there?
Topics? Do you think
we'll
I could not say
Possibly,
that? Okay, then I say the other thing I was thinking, which is, I also love, because I've been spending a lot of time with Adam during this trip, and then we talk over coffee or over restaurants, and he tells me wonderful, wonderful ideas. Some of them I cannot even understand. Some of them I do, and it's beautiful to give myself the opportunity to open my mind into new things. So this thing, check this out, that I love the other day. You told me how you think, actually, the topics on pramana, clear thinking, which is what we're presenting here or sharing a little bit with you, that they can function in both ways. They help you to develop vipassana, which is deep insights in how reality works, just by learning the contents, the tools we are talking about. But you say that also in and of itself.
In and of itself.
In and of themselves.
In and of itself, yeah.
Itself, but themselves, the tools.
Yeah, you might be able to say themselves.
They also help you to develop shamatha. If you are constantly using them as your object for analytical meditation, and there's like 3 kinds of no, not yet. The ways we learn is to samgom, which is listening, thinking about it, kind of how you call it?
Yeah.
Thinking about it, and then meditating in deep meditation. What's the other word we use for some? Contemplation. So
Yeah.
contemplating upon them. So sometimes while you're contemplating about them, you're not in deep meditation, just walking, or I don't know. I like thinking when I'm doing my exercise, for example. I find it very therapeutic. You say this, and I like it. In a way, you are practicing your shamatha because you are
All
so
day.
engaging, in an object. Which, by the way, I argue it can be with certain things that you like so much, like playing music or talking with a person that you find very interesting or attractive. I think you could be developing your shamatha, and it's easy to have shamatha towards things that we find attractive or interesting, right? But these topics, what I like what you say is like, if you understand them well and use them well, they are already preparing you for shamatha, and they are already preparing you for vipassana. And those are the two elements we need to see emptiness directly. So it's great. This is a great tool to see emptiness directly, basically. Keep coming.
100%. Yeah. Okay, sales job. I think we've tried to sell you on why to study these things. Okay, so let's move on to just talking in general, right, about what are the collected topics. Okay, going all the way back to Master Dharmakirti, whom you'll see just here, or Master Dignaga and Master Dharmakirti.
Oh, that's the lineage, right? Where these things come from.
Right. So going all the way back to Dignaga, right? Lived in 6th century, let's say, 6th century AD. Okay. He wrote a book called The Compendium on Accurate Perception. Okay. This is the source book of where we're going. This is the source material where everything starts from. This is the head of the river where it begins, right? He wrote a book called The Compendium on Accurate Perception. That book was then commented on and further just talked about, refined, let's say, right? And given more commentary by Master Dharmakirti. The reason I'm trying to move through this relatively quickly is I want to show you guys where we got these topics, where they came from. Okay, right? We have to understand really how it was developed. What are the topics, right? Because Master Dharmakirti didn't write them as topics. He didn't, right? He wrote a series of 7 books that he's known for. And these are 7 extremely difficult and very lengthy, long works, okay? But from each one of those books were selected different little bits of knowledge, different, like those tools that I was talking about, right? People went back to those books and then began to say, oh, this is one that we should take. This is one that we should bring out. So instead of studying the books in depth, which usually happens after about 12 years of study, okay, then you'll start to study you'll start to study what's called the Pramana Vartika, okay? But you don't do that first, right? Like I said, they give the collected topics to new beginner students, okay? And trying to avoid the word monk, right?
Yeah. You're doing well.
Okay, so we know Master Dharmakirti. We know Master Dharmakirti gained the source material for his commentary on accurate perception from Master Dignaga's Compendium on Accurate Perception. Okay, so over years, okay, so we said Master Dharmakirti about 650 AD. Okay, Chapachungi Senge in 1100. Okay, so how much time is that? Of about 500 years, right? Where these things were kind of sitting like in a pot. Like I think when you cook a stew or something, you're cooking a soup or something, right? They sat there for about 500 years, right? Just cooking in the background. And Chapachungi Senge was the initial person who took the works of Master Dharmakirti and then began to create the foundational version of the collected topics. Okay, And that was done through a series of, let's say, teaching. I said 500 years, okay, that these things were being talked about and passed down from teacher to student, okay, before the collected topics was made. So what would happen is somebody would give very deep teachings on Master Dharmakirti's works. Somebody would give, let's say, years of teachings on this book. And the student would write down these notes called a sertri, okay? So they would write down notes, right? And kind of the outlining things and saying, okay, this is a major topic. This is an important point. And then over 500 years, all of those things then became what we now know as the collected topics, right? So I'm trying to give you guys an understanding as to why we have a version of these works, why we have this version of Master Dharmakirti's works, okay? 500 years of cooking soup, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, so there are many different versions of the collected topics, okay? Every college within these institutions of higher learning, okay? There are 3 major universities, colleges, okay? I like to consider them like Harvard, Oxford, MIT, okay? These very beautiful institutions of higher learning. And within each one of those schools, you have 2 separate major colleges, right? So you have essentially 6 different major schools within these 3 higher institutions of learning, okay? Each one of them has its own version of the collected topics, okay? Geshe Michael told me the reason he chose this particular version to translate, because this isn't the version that is used at his college, okay? What we're going to study is a different version, okay? And the reason he chose this one is because this one treats what's called chichedra, quality and characteristic, in he says, the best way on the planet, okay? So this is the single best treatment of chichedra that you will ever encounter, okay? It's not me, right? This is Nawang Tashi, this is Chapachuki Senge, this is Master Dharmakirti, this is Master Dignaga, okay? So it's not me giving you these things, all right? There are many different versions, and the reason we're going to use this one is because this particular version of Chichedra is the best presentation that you will find, okay? And we're going to learn, actually, let's say right now, okay? Right now. This is why the door is the door.
They need a break at some point.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. So we go back to that initial slide that I had, the many doors, right? I thought it was very interesting because the college that this particular collected topics is from is Gomang, and it means many doors, okay? Right? That's why I had all those doors.
It's not? Nice.
A little higher.
If people cannot hear very well, please type it in the chat. But I think nobody has complained. As loud as Juan is good. Yeah.
Hello. Okay, is that a little better?
Yeah. You can complain in the chat.
Yeah.
We'll try to ignore you, but if it's
no,
thank you.
No, we have to make sure everybody can hear.
You were talking about the many doors.
So why is this particular? Why can we say that this is the door to emptiness? Okay. Well, what we're going to see is that the 8th chapter that we'll get to eventually is called Quality and Characteristic. Okay. Geshe Michael says that this is the key to the door, right? So how do you unlock perceiving emptiness directly, right? And that's this topic, okay? So we're going to get there eventually, but once again, we have to have some fundamental kind of more foundational tools in order to get there, okay? You can jump into it, right? Like off of a diving board, you can just dive into the pool, right? But I would say you probably need to change your clothes first. You need to make sure you have a towel, right? Before you do that. So this is the author of our book, okay? Xuanzang Tashi. He studied with one of the most preeminent scholars of Eastern China, okay, Western China, Jiangming Chepe Dorje, okay, means the omniscient one. the all-knowing. And if you haven't heard of Geshe Dorje, he's very, like I said, one of the finest scholars to come out of that particular region of the world. Okay, and this was his spiritual son. Okay, so it's a very heavy hitter. Okay, it's a very, very high scholar, and I hesitate to go any further because reading his biography is really beautiful. It'll move you. So if you can find a copy of the book, okay, go to the introduction.
Yeah.
We have written a very beautiful biography.
We have a QR code. The tech table has it. If any of you at some point is interested in getting this book, we're gonna show it at some point. But just how to say, previniendo a la tech table, so they have it nearby.
I would suggest if you want to know more about our authors, right, getting a copy of the introduction. I think it's very good before you study a book to become very familiar with who wrote it, their background, who they studied with. Okay? And there's a very beautiful, beautiful introduction to Geshe Dorje, as well as saying Awang Tashi. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys need a break, I'm doing pretty good. I don't know about you. It's easier to talk than it is to listen. So if you want to take a break,
people in the chat need a break. Yeah.
Yo, totally. Thank you, Roxana, again.
Thank you.
You can't tell me. They tell me every week, and I forget.
So what, 10 minutes? 5? 7? 8? All right. And then I can use the bathroom. Yeah? 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
We can drink water. Sure.
When you go to the restaurant.
I have to leave the microphone here.
Okay.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's nice to give everyone a break. I don't like taking breaks.
Oh,
I feel like it, but no. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Fine. So thank you so much. And we'll be back in 8 minutes.
Exactly.
And then we move to colors.
Yeah.
Oh, the debate is next.
Well, no, we're going to go through just the topics that we're going to cover in the first.
Okay,
week,
wonderful.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. If you're going, are you going to get water?
Yeah.
Oh, we have some just here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Adam. Wonderful. Are the mics off? Microphones off?
The punchline. Deliver the punchline. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're back. I'm just gonna say that was our 8-minute break. I think it's been
Mexican minutes.
Mexican minutes, yeah.
Of course.
So this is gonna here. I think we should wait for it was Maria. Yeah, maybe we should wait for Maria to come back.
Okay.
I don't know how long it's gonna be. I'll tell you what, we'll get started. And Roxana, please remind me. Yeah, please remind me. Sorry, translators. I forget, and I apologize. I know it's very difficult to translate for me.
Maybe we can take, I don't know. I thought in a Q&A, but not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe if you have a question, put it in the chat while we wait 3 more minutes. Yes or no question. Ask Adam questions.
Yes, no, or maybe.
4 students will go to class tomorrow. Oh, awesome.
Oh, awesome.
4 more people will come tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So really right now we're just charging just $50. People can come.
I didn't know that.
And no, just kidding. We're not charging, but it'll be nice if they'll bring the money. Now these classes are free. Everyone is welcome. If you're in Kyoto, come. Or if you have friends in Kyoto, let them know they can come.
Okay.
We have plenty of seats available.
So I ask everyone in the chat, I ask everyone here in the room, can one thing be entirely red and entirely white at the same time? It's a question to everyone.
At the same time.
At the same time. There's a very important distinction that I haven't made.
Yeah.
Just making that statement, I asked you, Alicia.
Without or Olesia.
Very beautiful name. So I ask you, everyone here in the room, okay, is it possible for one thing to be entirely red and entirely white at the same time? It doesn't really, right? Seems contradictory, right? Those two things. Yeah, totally. Now, this isn't a simple question, okay? This isn't a simple question, and the door to emptiness can be entered through thinking about this question, okay? Because the fundamental idea, okay, the concept, emptiness is conceptual, right? Okay, it's not a physical thing, it's not a mental thing, and it's not a demenduce, right? It doesn't belong to the 3 categories of changing things.
Wait, what's a demenduce?
It's something which is neither physical nor mental, but it's still changing.
Okay, like seeds.
Yeah.
Mental seeds.
Mental seeds.
Karmic seeds.
Or a person.
Okay.
Right? Like Roxana. Right? Roxana's not her mind. She's not her body. She's, right, a fusion of the both of those things. Right? So
the white horse.
The white horse. Yeah.
Yesterday.
We'll get to this debate.
Yeah.
It's a very high level debate that's presented in the first chapter. And when Geshe Michael sent me to his college to study, I had this same debate with one of the monks there, and it blew my mind, you know? And I was like, oh my goodness, they're teaching this to 10-year-olds? You know, it was like, it blew my mind, because at that point, I realized that the level of scholasticism, the level of academic scholarship that is taking place at these monasteries is on par with anything you will see in the West. Okay, they're teaching these little cute little monks, right?
Kids.
The bald heads, like they're running around and they're carrying their books, and you can hear them chanting in the mornings. It's a very wonderful place if you've never been to check out. You should all go and spend, you know, a few days there at least, just getting used to the flavor of what it feels like to be there. But they taught some very high level things to these like very young monks, and it's tied up, right, into this question here: can something be entirely red and entirely white at the same time? And I argue that it can be.
Can?
Can.
Yes.
Yeah. However, I did not make the
okay.
distinction,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
for the same person
yeah.
at the same time. Okay. And maybe from my perspective, something cannot be entirely red and entirely white. But in the same way, if someone is colorblind, right, I can see something as green and they can see something as blue, right? So this proves.
I want to say something. I want to add that while Adam get distracted with the goodies,
Thank you so much. You have to
I
let me
want to
buy
say
you
this.
coffee later.
I find it something that I personally enjoy a lot about the debate game activity is that every single word you say or don't say has an effect on the equation. And I love that. I find it so fun. An example is if somebody comes and asks you, hey, can something be totally white and totally red? And that's it. You could say yes. And you give an example, right? Geshe says that also, like a good debater is always thinking about either examples or counter examples. He says more counter examples, but what's an example of something that can be totally white and totally red? If you only say that, I will say, okay, a wall that I painted red, and in 3 days later, I decided I wanted white, and then I painted white. So it's an object, the wall in my room, it was totally red, and then later totally white, and that's an object that's totally red, then totally white, and we didn't specify at the same time. But then you add, that's what I like. Then you add, you have to specify at the same time. Oh, okay, at the same time. And then you add, you see,
For the
like
same person, right?
exactly the same person at the same time. So the more elements you start adding is like we will eventually learn this tool that is like how do you say discarding, you say? Elimination, the process of elimination.
Yeah.
You start like, it's like this game.
Yeah.
In Mexico, we had this game like, does your character has glasses?
Oh, right.
Yes. And then you cancel all the guys who don't have glasses. Does your character
What's
has
the name of that? Guess
money?
who?
And then you cancel all the guys who don't have
Guess who?
money.
Guess who?
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, just saying, like, when you guys are in a debate, listen very carefully to every single word or element that's added into the argument. And also, when you are debating, think very carefully about every word that you say or don't say, because that will gonna have an effect on the result. Okay. Having said that, now Adam has his coffee. You can proceed.
Okay. So I ask you guys, this is an example of emptiness, right? Right? Because the thing's not coming from its own side, right? It's very dependent upon your perceptions. Okay. In the second school, this coffee cup, okay, is said to be a cause for my perception of it. So in the second school, it's opposite of what highest middle way says. Okay. Highest middle way says, not only is this coffee cup coming from my seeds, but also my label of it as being a coffee cup. Second school, they say that it's coming this way. Okay. Second school, they say the coffee cup and its atoms, okay, and its colors and its shapes, all of its qualities are actually causing my perception of it. So the coffee cup is a cause for my perception, which causes a mental image, which then causes me to categorize it, me calling it a coffee cup, okay? And this is how those two things come together. So you've heard Geshe Michael say often that, translators. Okay, caught myself. Because this is very important, okay? I just explained to you, right? The second school is the opposite of highest middle way. But if you can familiarize yourself with how the second school sees reality, all you have to do is flip it. You understand?
Flip it. Just flip it. Instead of Nike, just do it.
Yeah,
Just flip it.
Yeah. Seriously. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to isolate and we're trying to identify what's called the what? The GBOCS, right? We're trying to figure out what we're trying to deny. Right? When we say something doesn't exist from its own side, we're saying it doesn't exist in a certain way, and we have to isolate what that essence is, okay? So what you're doing when you study the different schools of Buddhism is you're learning how to familiarize yourself with the different GBOCS, right? From the most base one, right, to then a higher, to then more subtle, till eventually you arrive at that end destination, right, of understanding what Anagarja meant. right? Okay, so second school is saying objects coming from its own side, the colors, the shapes, all coming from its own side. The atomic structure, right, then goes, causing my eyes perception of it, which then informs a mental image, okay? And then I label that mental image and I tie all the pieces and the parts together, okay? The reason I say this is very beautiful and the reason I've now rehashed it twice and I'm sticking on this, how many of you have heard Geshe Michael say that in highest middle way, the actual object and the mental image of the object are the same thing? Okay? Yeah, totally, right? So what I just described to you is how and why that may be the case. You see? The actual object causing the perception. Then they have something called an akara, or an image, okay? It's both a subjective and an objective, right, perception in your mind. Then that mental image, right? You interpret it. You interpret that image, right? And you label it. And I'm telling you right now that that's the blending of the two, okay? From the perspective of the second school.
Yeah.
Okay? Highest middle way, we'll have to get there. Okay?
Can I check with you if I got it? And you tell me if this is correct. What you're
I
saying
can
is
see it
like
in your eyes, dude. You got it.
in your what you just described, what you're saying is second school, they say ultimate reality or whatever is truly, whatever truly exists, it has to possess atoms.
Yeah.
Matter, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because then every school has its own way to define the gaksha, the object we are trying to deny. I guess second school, what's trying to deny is an object that could be real if it doesn't has atoms.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Now we're going to go a little deeper here. Okay. All right. I hope you guys are ready. This is what I'm here for. We can talk about these things in a very superficial way. We can talk about colors, which is how they do it at the monastery.
Okay. I didn't finish the question, but okay. No, it's fine. It's fine.
No, sorry. I thought you broke there. Sorry.
No, because sometimes I ask a few questions to get to the question.
Yeah.
But okay, so just to right to the point, you're saying that the maybe the connection between the mental picture and the object that it's manifesting in reality, the Chitzen and Rangsen.
Rangsen, Chitzen, yeah.
It's that Rangsen is the thing that you can touch, basically, or the manifestation of the archetype, and the Chitzen is the archetype, the idea in your mind. So you're saying they are the same, or no, the way they play together in the second school is that the atoms, the object that possesses the atoms, triggers your mental awareness, but then you recognize it as a cup. And that's how they are dancing together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think Geshe from
following then.
Advanced Level 2, if you guys are familiar with it, he calls it ice cream with a chocolate sauce.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So
and just
the
so
ice
you
cream
know,
would be the Rangsen, the actual object, and the chocolate sauce would be the mental image.
Okay.
But they work, what we would say is in concert together.
Okay. And that's an idea of the second school?
Yeah.
And that's so,
but
just so you know,
many ideas that the second school proposed are accepted by the fourth school.
It's true.
But some of them no.
Yeah, very true.
So you have to be careful.
Very
Not
true.
everything you hear these guys say is absolutely true in that way. In that way, in the way that the fourth school, there are going to be things that eventually we're going to come up to realize that they don't accept. But the process to realize why they don't accept it is what's going to help us to learn.
So I promised you guys we would go deep, okay? And this is one example of why I tell you that Master Dharmakirti's teachings are like an ocean, okay? Prepare yourself, okay? And really, no, seriously, get ready. Can you perceive a single atom of red? Can you perceive a single, right? If the second school, the background music, if you hear, okay.
Gangster music.
It really is. Yeah,
Prepare yourself.
Prepare yourself, right? Okay. Yeah. So if the second school says that ultimate reality, okay, is what they call indivisible atoms, okay, that the only thing right, that we can call ultimate reality is individual atoms. Okay. Can you perceive a single atom of red with your eye? I would say from any school, from the perspective of any school, I would say it's impossible for your eye. Okay. I mean, we're not talking electron scanning microscopes here. Okay. But you can see red, right? Right. So is this a collection of red particles that then present themselves as being red? Right? You have to say, you guys know all this. It's not a trick question. This is common sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you look at a cup,
Yeah.
okay, there are many atoms here, right?
Yeah.
The second school says that the only actual objects, okay, when you divide reality, you can do it many ways, okay? And you can look at it from different perspectives, okay? One perspective is ultimate reality and deceptive reality. We all know the two truths, yeah? Another reality, you could say, is things you can perceive with the senses and things you have to perceive with your mind. And those two things align, okay? Ultimate reality, in the second school, they say you can perceive with the senses, okay? All right? Okay, from the perspective
Okay,
of,
yes.
yeah?
Yes,
And so,
yes.
and then deceptive reality, from the perspective of the second school, are mental images, okay? They say that mental images aren't real, right? It's wild.
Because you
right?
cannot eat the ice cream you are dreaming of in your mind, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
It's not tasteable.
Yeah.
But I promise you guys we would go deeper, and here's where I'm going to tie it together, okay? If I say that when you perceive a single atom, excuse me, you cannot perceive a single atom by itself with the senses, okay? But they work together, right? All to form something you would call a coffee cup or a patch of red, okay? Anytime you take two things and you group them together, like if I say my arms, my legs, right, my heart, right? All of these are parts, right, that I'm then gluing together, aren't I? When you think about a car and you think about carness, you think about the aspect of being a car that has different components, different parts, right, that your mind ties together. It's very beautiful because you understand that you can't perceive a car with your eyes. It takes your mind to glue all the pieces together. Anytime you glue two things together, it automatically is a mental image, okay? Anytime. But I'm telling you right now that you cannot perceive a patch of red without gluing them together, okay? Second school says you cannot perceive these things with your eye because the only thing that's real, right, is atoms, okay? The only thing that's real are atoms. So there's a contradiction here, okay? Can you perceive one thing or do you perceive many things? Okay? So is there a separate cup that we call cupness that exists along with this cup? You have all the pieces, all the parts. Is there a separate thing called cup that then exists independent of this cup? Is it one thing or is it many? This is it. This is a very, very, and you got to sit with it, okay? I bring it to you right now because this is maybe something you could take home and think about, okay? But 100%, no, totally. And meditate for the next couple months, okay? Because there are 4 different levels of reality that Master Dharmakirti ends up going through in the Pramanavartika. This is what you would call external realism. And it's the 3rd level of his presentation of what we would say is epistemology, okay? Ontology. How do things exist and how do we know how they exist? Okay? So I presented to you 3rd level, okay? All right? Colors.
That's the very first topic
Colors.
that the kids study.
Yeah. So when you think about this, right? When you think about this, are colors existent from their own side, from the perspective of the second school?
I think they will say yes.
Yeah, you have to say yes, right?
The second school.
Right? But we just said that the only thing you can perceive with your eye are atoms. because of the fact that anytime you glue two things together, you are automatically involving mental images. So do you perceive a coffee cup with your eye? No, you don't.
I see.
You don't perceive coffee cup with your eye. I just proved it to you.
You only perceive colors and shapes.
I just proved it to you.
Yeah.
Now, everybody, I believe everybody in this room has had enough teachings from Geshe Michael in which we've all heard him say that before. Okay.
Mhm.
But I just led you through a proof.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't have to trust him anymore. This is a proof. And if you sit with it, it will make sense. Surface level, it makes sense. However, it's like a very beautiful candy. And the more you sit with it, the sweeter it becomes. Okay. That's the first chapter. Okay. It's the first chapter.
Of your book.
Of Seignan Wangtashi's book.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
translation with Geshe Michael. And maybe here is a good chance for the tech table to show the audience the QR code we were talking about. So people can see the beautiful book. Actually, we brought, this is short story, maybe just, I don't know, note. We brought 48 of these books. They were all sold in one day. Well, really 2 days. They were promised.
They were sold in about 30 minutes.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Emily Chan helped us
really
a lot
cool.
with it.
Yeah, really cool.
And it's amazing.
Really cool.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. When we first talked to some of the printers back in the US, like, hey, we're gonna need 50. I think the feeling was like, what, 50? We don't have that many. We have to print. Why do you want so many? Next time we should bring 100 or something. I don't know, but it's good.
It's a lot of work.
In
carrying
Spanish,
those
they
things
say like
overseas.
hot bread, como pan caliente.
Okay.
Pum, pum, pum.
Boom, boom.
Uno tras otro.
Okay.
Okay.
What
so
happened?
that's and you can find all these topics here in the book. The introduction is amazing, and the first debates are there. Wonderful. We're gonna go through the debates at some point, maybe tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think tomorrow. Yeah.
And it's great. You'll see. We'll have fun with that.
Basically, I think we're both just trying to familiarize you with the topics that are contained in the first volume. Okay. So my translation is going to contain about 2,500 English pages. Okay? The first volume of 4 is about 600 pages. And what we're talking about right now are the things that are contained in that first volume. Okay, so this is second chapter. Okay, how do we know that something exists, and how do we know if something doesn't exist? Right? How do we know that things are? How do we know that things aren't? Okay. So I ask you, what's the most important thing that we can think of to prove that isn't existing?
That is not.
That doesn't exist.
Second school?
We've already talked. No, it doesn't matter from any school. We've already talked about it. Topics already come up. Starts with a G. With a ga. Yeah. Okay. You guys awake?
Gotcha.
Okay. I've had. I think this is my third coffee. So.
And we have to leave some time for Q&A.
Yeah, totally.
Well, you know.
Okay.
When is a good time?
So yeah, how do we know, and how can we prove that something isn't existing? Okay, and how do we go through it? What are the things that do exist? What are the things that don't exist? Okay.
Like Santa Claus. No, we were talking about the other day. This guy, what's his name? Bob SquarePants. Bob
SpongeBob SquarePants.
And he was asking me very seriously, does Bob SquarePants exist?
Yeah. Well, this is a serious question.
I know.
Because in some ways he does exist, and in some ways he doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
I asked him to define existence, and he liked it.
You see? Yeah. I mean, it could be a serious question. Talking about SpongeBob SquarePants could actually lead to a pretty, philosophical kind of debate. Really could, right? Does SpongeBob SquarePants exist?
Yeah. And I say, well, what do you mean by existing?
Yeah. Well, it has to be perceptible, right? However, everyone, we won't spend any time on SpongeBob. If my mind is a changing thing, right, and my thoughts are kind of going, super fast all day, you just have these things kind of coming and going, right? How can something that's changing, like my mind, okay, perceive something that's unchanging? Serious question. We talked about touching the diamond world. We talked about seeing emptiness directly, right? Emptiness is something that is unchanging. And how does a changing thing like my mind touch that world. Are those two things compatible? Now, this is a serious question, dude. This is very serious. Your ability to transform the manner that you die in is tied up in that question, okay? Whether or not your life has purpose, whether or not you can serve all beings at all times is tied up in that question. So we're going to begin to refine, okay, and understand our understanding of what it means to be changing and unchanging, okay? And understanding how things exist, such as do they exist or do they not exist, right? Are things possible? Are things not possible, right? Opposites, okay? This is very interesting because this is how mental images are formed. We all have an idea of what we would consider to be our perfect world, right? You daydream about it, right? This is your Buddha paradise, okay? And if you don't do this, I highly suggest that you get familiar and comfortable with doing it. What would you like? How would you like to transform your world? Okay. And you have to learn how to cancel using opposites, right? The world that you don't want to see. Okay. And you can flip those two things together. So you have a dream world, a world that you would like to step into, right? But then you have this world that you wake up into every day. And it seems like you're fighting it, you know? You don't want this, and some aspects of it are okay, and other parts make you smile, right? But you want to be in bliss all day, every day. The sky should look so beautiful that it melts your heart, you know? Breathing air should feel so good that it brings you bliss, right? Oh, and that's our cue. Sorry. It's the Heart Sutra.
That just so you get to know a little bit of Adam, if you were able to hear that, that's how he picks up his phone. Like that's a ringtone.
It's true. It's true. That's my ringtones. Chanting me.
So
chanting
he kind of like these topics.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That's a little unprofessional. I knew I should have silenced it beforehand. So we're talking about Buddha paradises, right? You guys getting an understanding for just how beautiful this stuff can be, right? Because this is why we're all in this room. Yeah. We want to transcend death. We want to turn this reality into a beautiful paradise. Okay. And I present to you the idea that you have to learn how to cancel what the world isn't first before you can do that. So if you want to pull your dreams into reality, you have to first learn how you are forming mental images. Because right now your Buddha paradise is a mental image, isn't it? It's just a conceptual understanding of what you would like the world to be. And the only way you'll be able to take those things and make them come into reality is by understanding how mental images are formed. Okay? The stronger your understanding of emptiness, the stronger your understanding of how you are creating your world, the more refined you can get it, will dictate how quickly you can make these things appear. Okay? And I present to you that if your understanding gets super good, you can do it instantaneously. Okay? You can force karma to ripen instantly. Okay? But the only way you can do that is by refining your understanding of emptiness. Right? I mean, this is what the scriptures say.
Put that QR code again.
Yeah. Right. This is
I'm sold. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So
yeah.
So this is why we're studying this stuff. This isn't just word games. It's not just debating, right? This isn't meant to just be kind of, like a college logic class, right? This isn't a philosophy course. This is a practical way of transforming your world. So I present to you, right, once again, the understanding that the more strong your understanding of emptiness is, the more strong your understanding of how you are creating mental images and how you are creating your world will indicate how quickly and how powerfully you can get seeds to ripen. Okay? So that's why we present to you this third chapter. It's the opposite, right? So mental images are being formed because your mind goes through this process. You're taking in all this information right now, right? I have, I was just about to say there's music in the background and then it stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
But listen, there's music in the background, right? And you have a sensation of air on your skin, right? There's all this information that's coming into my eyes, all this data. Yeah. Right. So I can taste the coffee, you know, there's all these different kind of, all this data that's coming into my senses. At the same time, my mind is actually just going, you know, in the background. But what your mind does is it takes all this information, and the second you focus on a single object, it says, okay, this is round thing right here. This is a little tall, right? It has some liquid in it, right? And I go through this process of saying, oh, this is the opposite of everything that is not the coffee cup. This isn't a tree. It's not a dog. It's not the sky, right? And so you use these indicators, right, to inform your mind ultimately about what object I am holding. Okay, that's another reason this is very. It's a very basic kind of understanding that we all have to and that's one of the reasons that we can say that opposites are creating mental images.
So quick question is this book that we just presented and the one that we're using to share all this information, Geshe say it's gonna be in four, like how say volumes, four volumes, four parts of it, but the four together is one single book. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And all these topics that you are showing right now are included in the first
book.
In the first book.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
8 topics?
8 topics in the first volume.
Beautiful.
Okay. So now we're talking about reverses. Is he flipping? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Geshe Michael was leading me through this book,
I remember.
he remembers, he was talking about pancakes.
Yeah.
And this is how you flip things. Okay.
Yeah.
So
just flip it.
If you're familiar with it might be a little distracting, huh? Let's see, I don't want to pause that. Can I pause it? Okay, we'll leave it there. So in Western philosophy, there are some basic fundamental, what we call axioms that exist in reality. Okay.
Axiom meaning?
A fundamental truth from which you derive other fundamental truths.
Okay.
But there's certain things that you have to accept. First off, okay, what we would call first principles of reality and existence. Okay. So if you think about one of the most foundational things that we know about reality is that everything is itself. You have to say, okay.
Yeah.
Right?
What
is
other
Juan?
thing can it be, right?
Yeah.
If you are not yourself, nobody's gonna like you. No, just kidding. If you're not yourself,
that's a good
then
joke.
what other you are? Yeah.
Okay.
It's just joking.
Yeah. Another one of those things is called the law of contradiction, non-contradiction, the law of non-contradiction.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying this isn't to confuse you, and it's not to start some side topic about, Western philosophy. But it's to say that that's what reverses of everything that are not involves, is identifying something's self-nature.
Okay.
Okay. So when you flip something, right, and you say the opposite of everything that's the reverse of everything that Juan is not.
Should be me.
Yeah, it's Juan. Okay. All right. This is very similar to this topic, right? Very similar, but they're different, and we'll get there. And I think it's a little bit beyond the scope of the class that we're trying to have today, right? We will get there eventually. Hopefully everybody here and everyone online comes to the second course, okay? Because we're just talking about what. So this is hopefully going to be the fourth course, okay? And we'll spend a few days talking about just this one topic. And then we'll identify what's the difference between an opposite and a reverse, okay? They sound very similar, but they're different. Okay. So I was just saying it's the law of self-identity. Okay. What does it mean to be a coffee cup? What does it mean to be this coffee cup? What does it mean to be a coffee cup in general? Okay. And these are all fundamental things. And once again, we've got oneness and separateness. Okay. What does it mean to be one thing? Okay. And what does it mean to be something which is separate from that thing? Okay. You see this school of fish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like one thing. You can identify it as being one thing because you could say a school of fish. You can quantify it as being a singular thing, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But is it many things?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right? Is it simultaneously one thing and many things?
Apparently.
Is it red and white at the same time?
Yeah. Looks like
You know?
it. For
I don't
different
know.
people, from different people.
I don't know.
Different people.
We'll find out in course 5.
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. So then we'll go into, one thing we should make a distinction of is in this book, and the reason that it's 4 volumes, this would be 2,500 pages. And the first volume is just what we would call the elementary presentation. There are actually 3 levels within this one book. They say beginning, middling, and high, right? Higher presentations. They present cause and result in 3 different levels throughout the course of the book. Okay, so this is the first introduction and the first treatment of cause and effect. Okay, and we'll go through this, right? And seeds, and how seeds create trees, and do they create trees? Can they not? Right? But just so we all know, if something's a changing thing, what else is it? There are certain things we have to say, right? If something's changing, what does it do?
Performs a function.
Yeah, and if it performs a function, is it a cause?
It has to be
Yeah, is it also simultaneously an effect?
Yeah.
Right, so everything that's changing is a cause and it's an effect at the same time. Okay, right? And some ways we say that the coffee cup is a cause of the coffee cup in the next moment, and it's an effect of the coffee cup from the previous moment. Okay. Oh. I think,
Almost
we're
there.
trying to scoot along.
Yeah.
So subjects and objects, this is very, 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 very beautiful subject, right? Because all day long we're perceiving objects, okay? All day long. What does it mean to be an object? The reason I put this picture in here is just because there's a lot of stuff in it. There's like, so there's a bunch of objects there, right? I mean, a bunch of stuff to focus on. You got stars and magazines and guitars and this guy over here.
A drunk guy there.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what he's drinking. Looks purple.
He needs to get his life together.
He looks sad.
Yeah, it does a little bit, right? So subjects and objects, okay, and why may they be important? Because as a subject myself, if I'm going to meditate, right, I need to understand what objects I'm going to meditate on, right? So we all know that when you're meditating, it's not beneficial to just, I'm going to bliss out and not think about anything. I'm just going to sit down on my cushion and whatever happens, happens. You have to be very,
intentional.
Yeah, about what objects you choose to meditate on, because you are forcing your mind to take on the qualities and characteristics of that object. So if you focus on anger all day, it's going to infect your mind, right? Yeah. And the more you meditate on it, the more that's going to change the quality of your mind. So this is one of the reasons why when you choose a meditational object, what's the highest meditational object you can choose?
Now I understand why sometimes.
It's a question.
Sorry,
it's a question.
What? Can you repeat?
What's the highest meditational object you can think of?
Either emptiness or either enlightenment.
Your teacher.
Oh yeah.
Right? So
he has them both. Well,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Totally.
So I think about Geshe Michael, and I think really the reason I trust him as a teacher is because I see in him every quality that I would like to embody. Right? It's very easy to look at him and to say, this is the highest, this is the closest that I've ever encountered to being a perfect being. Okay. And if you want the quality of your mind to take on those aspects, then it's probably a good idea to bring them into your meditation. Okay. Because that subject object kind of nature is such that the more often you bring them into your mind, the more it will transform your heart. Right. So they say, when you bring them into mind, that eventually you will take on their highest qualities. Okay. And the direct perception of emptiness, right? What happens to subject and object?
Melt? No.
I don't like the word. I don't like the word.
Chula chuchakpa.
Yeah, totally. It's like water poured into water.
Yeah.
Right? So subject and object, right? This is what we call a non-dual state. Okay. There's no subject object, right? Why can we say that? How are we going to prove it? Masam jume kishera parochin, right? The perfection of wisdom is beyond words and thoughts. So emptiness is actually something you can't even describe with words. You can get close and you try to approximate it, but words don't do it justice, and words can never qualify the nature of emptiness. Okay, this is why I can't tell you with my mouth, right, how to see emptiness. You have to do it. Yeah, we can describe it, and I can kind of describe the path and how you may be able to do it. But emptiness is beyond subject and object. Anytime you use language, you're using what's called reference, right? You have a mental image, then you have a word that you label it with. That's subject object, okay? Emptiness is beyond that, okay? This is why when you say chula chushakpa, why we can say that, okay? It's another proof. Right? This is another proof of why emptiness cannot be described, okay? It's kind of crazy, right? Yeah. I think it's beautiful, man. Like, I think it's truly beautiful. And this is, once again, given to 10-year-olds, you know? So this is the door to emptiness. This is the key to the door to emptiness, okay? So the most important thing Geshe Michael says that you can study is this topic, okay? And it's wrapped up and tied into everything. Anytime you use a word, you are automatically referring to a category, okay? Anytime you have a subject and an object, you're referring to categories, okay? How do you know that something is your teacher? How can you describe bodhicitta, right? Like, these are all words, right? Okay. Are there different levels of bodhicitta? Is bodhicitta a quality that many people can possess, right? You have to say yes, right? You know, Buddhas, right? Many different Buddhas, you know, they all belong to the category of Buddha, right? Enlightened one. Bodhisattvas belong to the category of bodhisattvas. Cars belong to the category of cars. Red belongs to the category of colors, okay? So I ask you again, are these things dependent upon one another? Are cars dependent upon the category car? If you didn't have the category car, could cars exist? Yeah.
Again, Rangsen and Chitzen? Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, totally.
Okay. Cool.
These are just kind of things that I'm trying to give you as ammunition that you can take, right? And begin to use in your meditation, right? This is another way that I'm trying to say, keep coming back, please, okay? I'm trying to give you topics where, you know, you can't understand it in 2 hours, okay? So I'm talking about a lot of things, okay? But this is quite possibly the most beautiful thing I could
share.
Yeah. It's an honor, okay?
Thank you.
Really.
So what, Q&A? Final 10 minutes? If people have questions, maybe put them in the chat.
Well,
I have a lot, but
so I do want to say once more that when we build up to chapter 8, hopefully you'll be at a place to where you can really, really think about these things, okay? And not from a surface level aspect. Okay? We can all sit in classes with Geshe Michael. We can all hear him say, Chi Chedrak will bring you closer to emptiness than anything else. It's another thing to actually get up and do it every day until it happens, okay? And by the time we get to chapter 8, I hope you have the tools to do it, okay? That's my job. That's why Geshe Michael has asked me to come here. That's why you're all sitting in this room, okay? It is the purpose of your life, okay? It is the purpose of my life. You don't, anytime anybody asks you, like, what's the purpose to life? Right? That's what separates you from every other person on this planet. Okay. And I would argue that quality and characteristic, Chi Chedrock, will help you get there. Okay. Yeah. We have Q&A now.
Yeah, well, I see a question here.
Mm.
Well, thank you, by the way. Amazing, Adam. Thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation. I learned a lot, and I feel like I was also one of the students, hearing, and wow, beautiful. It was a very, to me, nice walk through the park of Pramana, clear thinking, collected topics. Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Really. Thank you.
Thank you for helping put this on.
There is a question in the chat, and it's funny because yesterday something like that came up a little bit, but it says, "Dear Adam and Juan, may I know why we use red and white to explain it instead of other colors? Thanks."
Yeah.
What do you think, Adam?
I mean, I don't think there's any, everything has a purpose in these books, right? It's very intentional. Everything's very thought out, right? So you could say black and white. You could say, yellow and orange, right? Juan had a very beautiful observation yesterday.
You can tell them.
Yeah. So in the higher teachings, red and white hold very specific meanings. And I think eventually we will all study those things. But as of right now, the first debate that young monks familiarize themselves with, it also has a very subtle symbology to it, okay, that relate to the highest teachings in Buddhism.
Yeah, and almost like to attaining the final goal, like from the very beginning, they are already putting in front of you a hidden clue or a hidden jewel of the final enlightenment.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I would say there is a reason we can't talk about it specifically in this class, but I would say that stick around, keep coming to teaching. That reason will reveal itself to you, if that makes sense. I hate to be so vague, but I have to be. Okay.
Awesome. Next question, it says, mental does equal mind, does it? Otherwise, we will always say mind and will not have to invent another word, mental. But then why in the category mental things, there is only the mind? Well, I think not really. Like inside the category of mental things, there are many other things, right? Like what's a mental thing? For example, an example of a mental thing is jealousy, correct? Anger, joy. Yeah. Can you call them emotions?
Emotions, yeah.
And each one of them is one of the members of the big group mental. But it's funny, we also talked about that yesterday, and we were saying that, for example, we call them mental seeds. When Geshe asked me to give an example of something that is not physical and non-mental, I say mental seeds. And then I feel nervous because I use the word mental. And I was like, maybe I'm hanging myself just by using the word mental seed. But then Geshe was kind and he said, yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Why? He asked me, why seeds are not mind? And we had to say, because it doesn't fit the definition of mind. So then you will have to ask yourself, okay, what's the definition of mind? And the definition of mind, it's clear and knowing.
Yeah.
Right?
Self-ignorant.
Yeah. So it basically means, and Geshe was kind enough to be guiding us through the process. Beautiful. Thank you, Geshe. Please stay. And it's basically this idea that for something to be mind, it has to be conscious or aware. Like a seed will have to be like, okay, it's time to bother Tim a little bit. It's time to give him some, trouble. The seed will be like, okay, it's time for me to ripen and do this or do that. And seeds are not, I almost would say like seeds are not alive in that sense. They don't have a mind in the sense of they're aware or like personality. So I hope that helps. That's a little difference between something that it's mental, but it's not mind. And it's, in this case, it's mental seed because it lives in the mind, but it's not mind. But generally speaking, I would say like, yeah, mental pretty much will almost be a synonym for something that it's mind. What do you think?
I agree.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Please keep teaching. Ola says thank you. She's supposed to be here soon. She say we'll see.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam. Very beautiful class. Gracias, Adam. In Italian, Lady Niguma told about this white in top. Ooh. We don't know much about it, or we have to pretend we don't know much about it. 5 more minutes. ¿Por qué? Yeah.
We have a question
please.
From our
Should
live
she come to the
audience.
front to make the?
No, it's okay.
Up to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait.
Oh, we need a mic, right? Yeah.
So first of all, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's so fruitful and inspiring. And my question is slightly connected to the topic of logic and just generally the knowledge. Because the reason why why students would understand what you're saying in this case, right? It's not the fact that you're saying it. It's not the fact that you're giving examples. It's not the fact that like they join this Zoom or they're here, right? And at the same time, it's impossible to like implant the seeds or understandings, right? And at the same time, you organize all of these classes. Teachers, they're teaching. They use words. They do all of this stuff. So with this understanding, what do we actually have to do? What seeds we actually have to create, and what practices exactly help people
I would say
to be attracted and to understand?
I think I understand what you're asking. So how what do we do, right? If we're trying to see emptiness, if we're trying to perceive emptiness directly, what do we have to do that? And when I pointed out the fact that studying quality and care, studying chapter 8, studying Chichedra, right? If I say that is the most important thing you could be doing with your life, okay, that's not self-existent, right? So I would argue that at some point you need to be right where I am, okay? You need to be teaching these things because that's going to give you the seeds, right, to ultimately understand it. That's why I said it's an honor to teach these things, because this is how I'm trying to see emptiness directly, right? So when you say, what should we be doing? What practices should we be doing, right? We know that sitting on your meditation cushion and holding a correct posture, right? This isn't how you meditate. You meditate by keeping your vows. And then that informs your meditation, the quality of your meditation, right? So your understanding of these topics is only going to be informed whether or not you are teaching, I would say, or you're helping other people gain knowledge about it, helping other people understand it, right? Helping other people refine their knowledge, right? And then this will plant the seeds to hopefully, to see that tree, the cherry blossom, right? To help the sakura of your mind, right? Yeah, totally. So I would say at some point you need to be right here and not in 5 years, next week maybe, seriously, right? There's no reason why you couldn't be sharing these things. You all have immense knowledge, okay? I've spent an incredible amount of time and I study these things every day. I'm paid. How beautiful that is. Like, I'm paid to think about these things all day as a translator. But that doesn't mean, right, that I'm any more qualified than you, right? And I would argue that you should probably start planning to teach next month, okay? Next week, and share what you know. Okay? Right? Even if you don't think it's, just share what you know. Right? Try to help other people understand things, specifically where things are coming from. Right? And then that will, like a very beautiful fire. I like this image of, I sometimes pray when I'm through with my meditation, I ask that my meditation be a direct cause for spreading the practice of the 6 perfections from mind to mind, like a beautiful fire, like this brush fire you see. And when I look around me, I hope that it's like, and everybody's mind is like, because you remember I was talking about that friction fire, right? It's like, I hope that everybody practices the 6 perfections. And I'm hoping that, my meditation and ultimately what I'm sharing with you today will be a direct cause for that. Yeah. So you have to dedicate it. You have to coffee meditate. All the things that Geshe Michael tells us to do. And it'll happen. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. To you and to the audience who had the kindness and interest to be live, thank you so much. And you all help us so much, really, one way or the other. Roxana saved me when I was talking to Pachi, and then Tim saved me again. And Maria was giving me good advice. Thank you, Lisa, for venir. For
the coffee.
To come. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adam. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to have another session, and then the next day, another one as well. So it's 3 days in a row is the plan, same schedule. So see you later. And there were many questions we couldn't have time, but we'll maybe give an opportunity again tomorrow to have more Q&As and stuff. Review the content, go through more content. We're going to check the debates, which are very, very cool. You will see how you can learn so much from each one of them in many different levels. Okay, so we wish you the best and see you tomorrow if everything goes well. Yeah? All good?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Wonderful.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody,
Bye.
for coming.
Yeah. Yay.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Yes, please.